In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to stop illogical or irrational thinking with Socratic questioning. The truth is that we all think illogically or irrationally sometimes. I'm sure that you know people who say things that you really wonder to yourself, how could they possibly think that? Or maybe you've had an argument with someone and it feels like you're spinning in circles or that you're talking to a brick wall. This happens because it's easy to get locked into a thinking pattern that doesn't make any sense. But the truth is that sometimes the person who is stuck in illogical thinking is you. Something can make so much sense to us at the time, but then someone points out something or you find out more information later that helps you realize that the way that you were thinking about a situation made no sense. When you're emotional, in fact, almost all thinking is irrational. The reason is that when we become emotional, our emotional center in our brain, called the amygdala, kicks in and floods our bodies with chemicals. And at the same time, the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for rational thought, shuts off. So our ability to think logically is literally impaired until our emotions are back under control. Now, this is really good to know, and it's a great reason for never making decisions when you're highly emotional, and why you should never continue to talk or argue when either you or the other person is highly emotional. So now you know, because nothing good will come out of it. But sometimes, emotions aside, our thoughts are irrational, because there are so many assumptions, distortions, and limited perspectives that can lead us to not be clear with our thinking. Now, the good news is that there are ways to root out illogical thoughts, which is important because our thoughts impact our emotions and actions, and we don't want to be creating our life experience based on thoughts that aren't even true. So, this is where Socratic questioning comes in, which is also referred to as cognitive restructuring. So Socrates was an early Greek philosopher who was one of the greatest thinkers of all times. And he was famous for his ability to prove that someone else's thinking was illogical. The person would state their opinion, and then Socrates would ask them questions until he led the person to make a statement that contradicted their original claim, which of course then showed that their original opinion was illogical because they proved themselves wrong. So the philosophy behind this type of questioning is that disciplined questioning can help a person uncover the truth, expand their thinking, uncover assumptions, and follow a line of thought all the way through to make sure that it makes sense. So you'll notice that this type of questioning is used in a number of different activities throughout this program. So thoughts are going on inside of our minds all the time, like a running dialogue. And often they're happening so fast that we aren't aware that they're even happening. So we have an entire section of this course dedicated to developing awareness. But to start, use this activity to begin to tune into your thoughts and question them. So the attachment that goes with this video helps you use Socratic questions on yourself to determine if what you're thinking is logical and if not, to find where you're going wrong. So start by identifying the thought that you would like to question. Write down a specific thought, usually one that you suspect is destructive or irrational. Next, write down the evidence for and against this thought. What evidence is there that this thought is accurate? And what evidence exists that calls it into question? And once you've identified the evidence, you can make a judgment on this thought, specifically whether it's based on fact or simply your feelings. Then next, you'll assess whether your thinking is black and white or all or nothing thinking, which makes the situation appear unreasonably simple when the truth is that it's probably much more complex. So then consider whether you could be misinterpreting the evidence or making an unverifiable assumption. Then you'll think about whether or not other people might have different interpretations of the same situation and what those interpretations could possibly be. And then you're going to be honest with yourself about whether you're looking at all the relevant evidence and not looking at the evidence that doesn't support what you already believe, because this happens a lot. You'll check to see whether you are exaggerating and if you're thinking this way just because it's your habit. And then lastly, you'll look at where this thought came from, who might have passed it on to you, and whether or not they are a valuable source.